Present-day lions are a fairly young species, emerging from the fossil record about 120,000 years ago. They were widely distributed across Africa, Asia, and parts of Europe, and while the number of subspecies are disputed, most of the subspecies inhabit various parts of Africa, and then there's one subspecies that lives in Asia today. While African lions have small differences across the continent, the Asiatic lion has some traits that differ from the African subspecies. Asiatic lions are generally smaller in weight, but not necessarily in size. Both can reach tail to nose lengths of about 9 feet. But where the African lion can reach 800 pounds, the Asiatic lion may weigh only about 300 to 500 pounds. Male Asiatic lions do not have a full, bushy, or thick mane, and they have this skin flap that runs from the base of their chest to their groin. So if you see a flap, it's an Asiatic chap. Who's been here since the Sandcat video? Just wondering. The existence of the mane is unique because no other cat on the planet has one. Male lions can be seen sporting a golden mane, one that is iconic in our culture, or one that is darker in color. Also kind of iconic. It used to be believed that the mane protected the neck of the male lions, who get into fights regularly because they're always trying to dethrone one another to take over a pride. However, usually when these spats happen, they go for the hind legs or the hips, so that can't be the reason for a mane. It has been identified that lions with darker manes tend to be more well-fed and produce a lot more testosterone. As a result, the purpose of them seemed to be a visual display to express their might and attract females. It's always about attracting the females. One drawback to the mane is, if you can't imagine, it gets rather hot in some of their stomping grounds, and male lions with darker manes have a much harder time staying cool in places like the Serengeti. But they compensate for that in other ways. During these times, lions may not eat large meals because that would just increase their heat loads. Another way to compensate is to avoid the daytime altogether. This means that lions often are seen hanging out in the shade, sleeping during the day, and then they're active during the night. Only one subspecies of lion lives in such a hot and harsh environment where the males do not grow a mane at all. These are, of course, the Tsavo lions. And if you watched my video on the Tsavo man-eating lions, then you know why this subspecies is known pretty well. So if you want to hear that tale, check out the link somewhere up here to watch the video on the Tsavo man-eating lions. Lion populations have been hit hard though, basically being reduced to 43% of what they've been historically, just in the last 21 years. And their total number is likely more significant considering that they were eradicated from Europe about 1,000 years ago. And, of course, this is the struggle for all top predators because humans are the dominant species right now, and we're scared of predators. We don't like that they go after our livestock. And the expanse of the global industrialized civilization is just not in harmony with nature. While they live pretty harsh lives generally, especially for males, and I will get into that, subjecting them to the population contractions they've experienced over the last few decades isn't exactly making their lives easier. This is because they have territories to defend and prides to maintain. One way that is done is through roaring. Lions are considered big cats, which is not a scientific classification, and the classification has nothing to do with size. One of the main features of this classification is based on cats having physiological structures that are conducive to roaring. Other features such as size and genetics play a role in genetic analyses, suggesting we should do away with this classification altogether. One example that blurs the line for this cat classification is the snow leopard. It's considered a big cat, but it can't roar. Snow leopards have these structures, so it is hypothesized that cats from the snow leopard's ancestral lineage probably could roar at some point, but the present-day snow leopards lost the ability to do that, even though they have retained the structures. When a lion begins to roar, they fill their lungs up with air, forcefully pushing it out. The hyoid bone stretches a ligament in the chest that is drawn down when the lion is exhaling. Exhaling causes the vocal folds to vibrate, and the noise caused by that vibrating is the roar that we hear. The roars will sound different based on the air pressure that is created from the lungs. Lions have square-shaped vocal cords, which is unique because most animals, including us humans, have triangular-shaped ones. Their vocal cords are about the size of a fist, and they can produce an enormous amount of power. A lion's roar can be as loud as 114 decibels, which is within the range that is harmful to us if we are exposed to it regularly. So much like how people say they are deaf because they went to too many rock concerts, the same could be said if you let a lion roar in your face too many times. I know, very relatable. Their roars are so loud that you can hear them from about 5 miles away. Now, the reason why lions roar is varied. They appear to do it to strengthen social bonds, males will do it to establish territory, and they even do it to identify individuals and count. Yes, count. We'll get into that in just a bit, but let's talk about those social bonds first. I bet you all know that a group of lions is called a pride. Because sociality among cats is so unique, researching lions just hits a little differently. Meaning you can't really study a tiger and say that what it is that you find in that research applies to lions, and kind of vice versa. Prides typically consist of 13 individuals on average, with the makeup generally consisting of 1.7 adult males, 4.5 adult females, and then 2.8 juveniles. The pride in its entirety doesn't stay together though. Instead, they form cliques that consist of 2 to 4 individuals. Despite there being a male leader, their social structure is not a patriarchy, but it's also not a matriarchy. They're basically egalitarian, or they're often called mutualistic. They adhere to gender roles where the females hunt and care for their young, and then males maintain and defend territory and sire cubs. Prides can operate efficiently, but there is a life that is lived between the two sexes that have their own separate challenges. But I must say that males definitely got the shorter end of the stick. It totally sucks to be a male lion. Prides contain male leaders that usually only hold that position for 2 years, and anything over 4 years is considered really rare. This is important to note because it helps to understand why male lions have adopted the morbid behavior of infanticide. When a male becomes the leader of a pride, that generally means he's got dibs on all the females to spread his seed. However, females ovulate every 2 years. If the male usually holds its position for 2 years, that means they might be the leader of the pride when females aren't ovulating. So extreme measures have to take place, and since females become more receptive to mating within 8 months of an infanticide event, this behavior is baked in lions' evolution. And it's because it increases the success of reproduction. But, like everything, there are some exceptions. If the cubs are mostly independent, meaning they aren't nursing and are integrating themselves into the pride as adults, the new male probably won't kill them. In fact, most studies generally agree that once cubs hit about 9 months of age, they usually are spared from infanticide. At about 2 years of age, male lions are kicked out of the pride, and they have to either take over a pride right away, or they will form a coalition with their relatives or other males that are nearby that also just got kicked out of their prides. Essentially, if a male lives past 3 years of age, it's kind of a flipping miracle. So yeah, when you see a male lion living his best life, rolling around with his cubs, he kind of deserves that moment. Male lions form coalitions because coalitions increase their chances of getting a meal. Remember guys, they're usually not the ones that are hunting, but during that time, they are crossing paths with other male lions that are defending their territories. It's during this time single male lions are incredibly vulnerable because without the adequate social support found in coalitions, they can die more easily. And this appears to be the greatest explanation for why male lions are social. Coalitions ensure survival long enough to take over a pride. Females have their own set of challenges, but they have it a little bit better than males. There have been a few studies that have looked into why females are as social as they are, and you would think that it's because they are primarily the hunters in a pride, but there are other studies that refute this. For some prides, coordinated hunts aren't the norm, and lionesses will often hunt alone. So something else is pressuring them to be social. And the most plausible explanation is cub rearing. When mating begins, males value quantity over quality. That means that all of the females in the pride are getting pregnant and thus giving birth around the same time. When that happens, a nursery group, which is called a creche, is formed. This means nursing is shared among the females and they are nursing each other's cubs. This is mutualistic protection to ensure the cubs survive because of the whole infanticide situation. And in fact, the larger the creche is, the better the chances are that the cubs will survive. On a gender level, males and females seemingly have their own reasons to explain why they are social. but on a pride level, they have to defend their territory. And this seems to be the strongest reason why lions are social together as a species. While all cats establish and defend territory, the added layer of lion sociality makes the way they go about it a little bit more complex. To start, lions' habitat tends to be more varied, and resources can be hard to come by. What I mean by that is a jungle is basically a jungle to a tiger, and a desert is basically a desert to a sandcat. But in Africa, plains have patches of shrubby areas. Sometimes there are large swaths of land with really tall grasses, and then the plains get seasonal rainfall and watering holes kind of move essentially. You don't really get that kind of variability in other cat habitats. However, I want to point out that leopards and lions kind of have habitat that overlap each other, and the two butt heads all the time. Leopards will actually go for lion cubs quite often. So much so that lions will kill leopards if they encounter them. Now, the difference is that leopards just didn't evolve in kind of the same way lions did, meaning they had different pressures where becoming social wasn't necessarily a benefit to their survival. However, if lions ever go extinct, leopards will probably fill their niche. So usually the larger the pride, the better the real estate. These prides, the larger ones that is, they tend to have territory with access to water and thus prey. Male lions are never taking a day off from defending their territory, but because all lions are most active at night, most of the disputes occur at night. In the event that they are moving or expanding their territory, they use their roars to identify who is in and who is out. This is where that counting component I mentioned earlier comes into play. Lions count to take tabs on where their pride members are and to determine if they are outnumbered by a bordering group. They can recognize individuals in their pride, and lions from other prides will call back. If they are not outnumbered, they move forward and act accordingly. When they aren't defending their territory, they are hunting. And again, this is something that primarily occurs at night, and it's usually the females doing it. All of you have probably seen lions hunting in action. They stalk their prey, zero in on one individual, chase it, take it down, and keep it down. Lions have muscles that allow for them to have explosive speeds, where they can reach speeds of 50 miles an hour in just a few seconds. Now, one component to evolution is something called an arms race. The thing that makes prey animals successful in survival must be countered by the predator to ensure the predator has some success. And so with lions and zebras, they are in an arms race for athleticism. A common strategy for zebras is to zigzag around at speeds of around 40 miles per hour, but they can reach speeds of 55 miles per hour. So lions have to counter that by being a little teeny tiny bit better at zigzagging and reaching speeds that are comparable to zebras. And of course, there's the added complexity of a group hunt. While there is no social hierarchy, the decision to form a hunting group is done through grunts and body language. One research team reviewed the patterns of 486 group hunting events, and they noticed a single female would do a low grunt, look at the prey, and then look back at the peers. And this was the lioness basically communicating that she was hungry and she wanted that one right there, but she needed a little bit of help. So a group would form and a hunt would take place. This research team noticed that these groups were coordinated, and lionesses kind of took on roles. One role was being dubbed the wing, which includes funneling the prey to the center role. And it's the center role that usually touches the prey or catches them first and tries to keep them down. And then the wings come in to really keep the thing down. Lionesses appear to be consistent with their role play, meaning once a lioness becomes an effective wing, they tend to kind of stay a wing. With their positions dialed in, the hunts become more successful. And the difference is about a 20% success rate when the lioness is hunting alone versus 30% when they're hunting in a group. And since many of the large prey have enough to go around, it is worth coordinating with a group to share than to just go about it alone. But man, lions can eat. In one sitting, male lions may gorge themselves and eat 95 pounds, while females may eat 55 pounds. Like, holy, their coordination also makes lions just a tad bit smarter than the solitary cats. Researchers have set up puzzles where animals had to pull a cord to open a door to get a treat. Overall, the two social animals that were researched, so this was lions and hyenas, they outperformed tigers and leopards. And on top of that, lions remembered how to obtain their treats 7 months later. I think that's going to do it for today, guys. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more from me, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.